So this is the Honor Magic V5, and Honor is claiming this is the thinnest foldable to date. So today we're going to see if Samsung is in trouble with the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 against this Honor Magic V5. Let's discuss this all new foldable device by Honor. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and let's just do a quick unboxing in this comparison while we're at it. Honor Magic V5, and shout outs to Honor for sending this foldable out. You can see right here, I do have this already off, so I'm just gonna go ahead and showcase what it says. It's just like most other foldable phones. They're gonna tell you to not remove the inner screen protector by yourself. So this is the Honor Magic V5, and take a look at this. Wait till you see this thing. Look at how thin this phone is here. So an incredibly thin foldable smartphone. Let's bring it back to the back side. I do have this gold version here. You can see right there, Honor right there. You can see there is a big camera bump, but that camera actually produces some really top tier results. And then when this phone is closed, it actually really does feel very thin. It feels very much like a regular smartphone. And it does have a little bit more of a rounded shape than the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7. So I actually find it more comfortable to hold than the Z Fold 7. But let's go ahead and just kind of see how they look side by side. And man, is it close. It really is. The Honor does have a thicker camera bump, but both of them do have thick cameras that come off the edges. Man, that is a close call there. So pretty close. You could see right there. Definitely a very, very strong competitor here with the Honor phone. Let's go ahead and take a look at the left side. You can see they have this pattern in here. It does definitely gives it a little bit of a flare right there where the hinge would be. And if we take a look at the back, you'll see there is an AI image printed out right there. Well, there's some text on there that says AI imagery. And we do have some really strong zoom on this phone and a pretty interesting pattern on the rear as well. Now, if we take it over to the right side, we do have an integrated fingerprint sensor, and we do have ourselves volume marker right there. At the bottom, we are going to find ourselves the USB-C. We do have some microphone holes here, and then speaker grill. And also right here, we do have ourselves a SIM card tray. So no eSIM only on this one. There is an IR blaster on this phone as well. There's another speaker, and we do have a front-facing camera right there. So definitely a pretty well spec'd phone here. Let's go ahead and take a look at what comes in the box. So you do have yourself a SIM card tool, and then inside here, it does come with a charging cable and this case right here. Also warranty guides will be in there. And this case does have a kickstand as well. So that's pretty neat. We'll go ahead and show how that looks more towards the end. But it will protect this area as well, and you kind of get that similar pattern that you would find on the side of that Honor Magic V5. Okay, so let's talk about the key specifications on both phones. We're going to be mostly focusing on the Honor Magic V5. This is what the video is mostly about. I'm using the Z Fold 7 because to see, that's the one everybody's talking about. So we're going to see how really good this phone is right here. So this phone on the front does have a 6.43 inch display. So it's a little bit smaller than the Z Fold 7, but I'm okay with that because it kind of feels a little more natural with its corners over here, and also just the general shape and feel is just a little more comfortable than the tall rectangular look of the Z Fold 7 based on how the way it feels to me. This is an OLED display. It is a 120 Hz LTPO panel as well, and this phone does have itself a 7.95 inch inner display. So it's also a pretty nice interior display on this phone as well. It's pretty large, nearing 8 inches, but not quite 8 inches, but pretty close nonetheless. One of the main standouts with this foldable is going to be specifically the battery life here. So this one does have a 5820 milliamp hour battery housed inside of just this 4.1 millimeter thin body. Now this one here is 4.2 on this Dawn Gold, but if you do want yourself the 4.1, you have to go with the ivory white color option. So that is incredibly thin. That's actually thinner, I believe, than or even it's probably just about similar to the Z Fold 7 there. So they're definitely neck and neck in the thinness. But of course, if you were to measure the camera bump there, it would definitely be a little bit thicker Really a great technology right there. And that folding close sound was pretty darn good. Now this does have the Snapdragon 8 Elite on board, so you're going to get yourself a very fast chipset, which is something I think you're going to really like for day-to-day performance. This model here is the global edition. This is not the Chinese version, so you're seeing the global model right here. This is going to have 16 gigabytes of RAM on board and 512 gigabytes. So it has tons of RAM, tons of performance, and it's super light, and it feels like a normal phone on the front and a really nice phone on the inside. They're really crushing it with this device right here. So to confirm what I was talking about earlier with the thinness, this Dawn Gold color is actually the exact same thickness as the Z Fold 7, whereas the Ivory White would be 0.1 millimeters thinner. Not a substantial increase, but it's something. Another thing I wanted to talk about is for people who have issues with these OLED displays being hard on the eyes, you might actually really like this one. They have a lot of eye comfort based technology on here, especially the very high 4320 hertz ultra high frequency PWM dimming. So this right here is definitely something for people who are sensitive to OLED displays. You would really, really like this phone right here. I found this to also be very easy on the eyes, no eye strain whatsoever. And I typically get a lot more eye strain on some different like OLED displays, specifically like my Samsung tablets. I don't get too much here on the Z Fold 7, but a little bit more than this phone over here. So if you're into the eye comfort specs, you're definitely going to like this one here. Now that inner display also does have 403 pixel density. So what you're going to notice is that it does have a very, very sharp, just the way the text looks is incredibly sharp for a foldable phone. Not all foldable phones have this sharp of a resolution. So 5000 nits brightness as well on the inside. So that's also incredibly bright. Now, of course, you're going to have to trigger that with sunlight and stuff like that. But still, that's an incredibly high brightness. This also has support for a Magic Pen, the Honor Magic Pen that works on the inside and the exterior display. Now, I don't have that pen on me at the moment, but you can use that pen on both the cover display and on the interior display. So definitely, it's packing basically everything. They basically left nothing on the table. Like everything is here. 66 watt wireless charging is available. And you can also do 50 watt wireless, actually 66 watt wired charging. And you can also do 50 watt wireless charging with the Honor Supercharge. So these can also charge very quick as well. So definitely there's a lot to like about the specification sheet here. Now that phone is an IP58 and IP59 rating. And when it is closed, it is rated at about 8.8 millimeters thick. So that's actually not horrible. Not quite as thin as some slab phones when fully closed, but definitely it's not horrible. So those are basically the key specs. We should also mention the camera system because it's very important. We do have ourselves 50 megapixel wide on board. In addition to that, there is a 64 megapixel periscope camera, so it can zoom very far, and a 50 megapixel ultra wide. It's also enhanced by Honor's AI image engine. So this can super zoom with AI. It has AI motion sensing, so you're not gonna get those blurry photos when you take something in motion. That's great. In addition to that, this does have AI image to video, AI eraser, AI upscale, cutouts. We'll talk more about that later. And it can shoot in up to 4K, so definitely really good on that front. Bluetooth 6.0, and it does come rocking the Magic OS 9.0.1 on Android 15. So let's go over here to About Phone. You could see right there some more of the key specs to confirm what I was talking about. Now, the reason why you get those high resolution pixel densities is because you have high resolution displays on both the exterior and the interior, and both of them are for the Honor Eye Comfort screens. It says right there too, the silicon carbon battery. This is also enhanced with the Honor C1 Plus chip. So, I mean, I could go on and on. I feel like a scientist right now saying everything, but the fact of the matter is that this phone is packing the heat, and I feel like Samsung has some serious competition here when it comes to some of these foldables that are starting to come out these days. Now, some of the key specs that matter here for the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7, it does have a 6.5-inch exterior display. On the inside, it is a bit bigger at 8 inches, and it's one of the glorious things about the Galaxy Z Fold 7. This also has a 200 megapixel main sensor and 12 or 16 gigs of RAM, depending on the storage options that you go with. This has a disappointing sized battery though at 4,400 milliamp hours. I say disappointing not because it can't get through the day, it can easily make it through a full day. It's because the Honor Magic V5 lasts significantly longer in the actual performance. So I do think Samsung's in trouble when it comes to the battery life on some of these competing foldables out there. This one really just doesn't have the same longevity as something like the Magic V5. Also, they don't have a periscope camera on here, so you do get a good 200 megapixel, but once you start zooming past, say 10x, things start to get a little bit grainy. Not quite my favorite, and I'll show you some of those examples later. One thing I did find noticeable though is the crease is also rather more noticeable here on the Z Fold 7. There's the angle right there versus something like the Magic V5. Now to make it fair, I'm gonna put it on a lighter screen, but you can see that crease. I have to go on a sharper angle to see it. So the Magic V5 actually does a better job at making that crease barely visible. I do have to say it there. You see how much of an angle I have to get this on to see that crease? Now let's do the same on the Z Fold 7. Let's open this up. Let me hit this fingerprint. We'll go to the Play Store. And just a slight turn there. And you can see, if I go on an even deeper crease, a deeper angle, you'll see it. But yeah. Both of them you don't really see head on. Samsung definitely has been doing better with that versus earlier iterations. Generally, it does look a little bit more invisible to my eye on the Honor. So one thing I do like more about the Samsung though is that it does have Android 16 out the box, but at the same time, it does have One UI 8. So that's going to be a personal preference, whether you like this or you like the Magic OS on the left. It's really down to your preference. You see that flickering? I'm not a fan of that. That's invisible to the human eye, but on my camera, it can pick it up. Our Magic V5, this is just a thing, it just does better. It does better with this eye comfort for the things you just don't see. Now the Samsung also does have a 10 megapixel telephoto camera. That's not a periscope, and it does have a 12 megapixel ultra wide. I feel like just besides the 200 megapixel cameras, these don't feel very premium. They don't feel very top end. Whereas I feel like the Honor's cameras on all the lenses feel a little bit more high end. And the Z Fold 7 doesn't have any pen support besides capacitive stylus you can use on any phone. No S Pen support. So let's talk about the body and design of the Magic V5 and if Samsung's in trouble. I don't feel like Samsung's in trouble when it comes to their design. I don't think everybody's gonna love this camera bump because it is bulging out there. And when you do place this phone on the table, you could see it's kind of like sitting up on an angle. Samsung is also sitting on an angle. You can see right there, but it's closer. It's trying to get closer to the flat, but this one is just straight up on an incline. So definitely not a major fan of that. However, what I am a major fan of is how smooth this phone feels in the hand. It is really something you got to hold to feel. But these corners right here, not sharp. They're rounded over here on the corners, and the phone itself just feels very nice to hold. But it does feel bigger, so it kind of has that like Galaxy Ultra feel, but just more on a 6.5 inch size on the Galaxy Z Fold 7. Now the side is also a pretty interesting profile right there. I do quite like that. And I definitely think this color is pretty striking, how it changes in different lighting. What I really like is when this phone is opened up, just the way it feels in the hand. It's so light, in fact, that you can actually hold it for a foldable. I mean, it's not like an iPhone mini type light, but for a foldable, it feels very comfortable to use for extended sessions. And I think if you're playing games or doing basically anything on here, you could hold it with one hand and kind of scroll with one thumb just because of how light and easy it is to hold this phone. Now, Samsung's device over here definitely has more of a traditional rectangle Samsung kind of feel, or you could even say prior Ultra phones, Samsung Notes. It kind of has that kind of feel, but in a foldable package. Probably gonna have a case on it or watch my one-handed use, because if it slips out and I bust something up, I'm gonna be quite mad about that. But Samsung has done a striking job with their thin factor, and they're definitely not in trouble, I would say, in terms of the build and the body. They're actually in the right direction and really playing at the top of the game now. Honor's done a great job, but Samsung is slightly ahead with the size, so maybe we got to go up a little bit in the next Magic series for the screen size, maybe up to 8 inches, 8.2, something like that, to go past the 8 inch over here and a 6.5 on a cover display. IP58 and P59 with improved dust resistance on here. This one is built to withstand basically complex outdoor environments. It essentially can handle day-to-day life, ventures, demanding conditions, things of that sort. The phone itself also has a carbon reinforced inner display panel with Honor's anti-scratch nanocrystal shield. So basically what we're talking about here is that you can rest assured that the scratch resistance should be pretty good here on this phone. Is an anti-scratch film on here, so it should be pretty good. You don't want to be, taking this thing into ocean water probably or something like that. But generally it's packed with pretty darn durable materials, including a super steel hinge on board here. So this thing is crafted from second generation Honor Super Steel with a tensile strength of 2300 MPa. So this hinge material definitely makes this device incredibly strong while also being incredibly thin. And you can kind of feel it when you go ahead and open up this phone and close it. It just feels very satisfying to close. It's definitely built to last, and Samsung's on their 7th iteration, so this thing still feels very durable. This phone right here, very strong, durable, foldable as well. Although I have found to get some light hairline scratches already on that inner film. A couple hairline scratches here and there. Of course, the front display, you can easily put a screen protector as I have on here, and Z Fold 7 just fine. But isn't Samsung in trouble in terms of durability against this one? I would say not really, but the Honor Magic V5 definitely, compared to the Z Fold 7, is offering some competitive durability on board for sure. So the display quality differences besides the size we mentioned already is going to come down to better PWM. I also would say that it definitely has more of a natural look to this display, but you can also tweak that on the Samsung as well, so that's no biggie. You also have some color mode and screen temperatures you could change. You can go to Vivid here, which we're going to leave it on. You have an ebook mode, which is going to change the color of the screen, so no issues with that. Dynamic refreshes. I did find on some applications, though, the phone wasn't scrolling in the dynamic mode the way I wanted it to on 120 Hz. So if you want to always have 120 Hz, you actually have to turn on high for this phone, which does eat a little bit into the battery. So I pull this up, you will be able to bring different applications off to the side as you would expect, so no big issues there. You can also have a triple split screen as well. So let's go ahead and grab the clock here and see how this one does. And you can see we'll add and release the app there, and then we'll tap over here and you'll see you have a triple split screen. So this is similar to, I believe, what the OnePlus Open does. So I do like that way of multitasking because it allows you to kind of get the full screen of the app when you are triple split screening like that. So that is definitely, to me, going to be quite a usable option. Also in Magic OS, you can see the multitasking on here when you go through the applications looks more the way I like it, which is more like a tablet. The Z Fold 7, you actually have to download a good lock and you have to put that version on, which I actually did because I like it looking like that. It looks more like a tablet. Now on the Z Fold 7, of course, you get the larger display. And if we scroll down and go to display, you'll see right here, we do have eye comfort shield, adaptive tone. We can go to vivid modes, and it's basically what you expect from Samsung at this point. Definitely a really nice display. One of the best out there, honestly. And is Samsung in trouble when it comes to the display area of these two products here? And I gotta say, not really. It's actually a bigger screen. While it isn't as good at the PWM, the Honor also has a better film on the inside. Based on what I'm seeing, it doesn't scratch as easy. This display doesn't really have anything too much to worry about. I don't like how they went to this punch hole. This phone also has it, but the difference is Samsung had a phone without it. So some of the things that set them apart from other foldables isn't really doing that anymore with no UDC and no S Pen, which this one doesn't have a UDC ever, so it's not a big deal. I didn't expect it here. But definitely this one feels like a step forward, but also a step back. Full screen and S Pen support, it would have been probably beating most of the competition. When it comes to the platform, again, we're looking at the Honor Magic OS 9 over here, and it does have quite a nice setup here. It does look pretty polished. You can see right there 9.0.1, and this one is going to have like the 8 Elite, so it's going to be very fast, and it also has a lot of AI features on board. So if you go to Honor AI, you're going to have AI suggestions, which is going to give you obviously app suggestions. That's nothing you haven't seen before, but you do have the Magic Sidebar, which you can pull from the edge over here. That's going to be a nice little split screen option that you'll have for this phone. Definitely going to be useful. And let me go ahead and see if I could pull it off the edge there. And then you can see it right there. If we go to more, you'll be able to see the magic sidebar. You have the magic text as well, which will allow you to tap with one finger and access related services. If we go down here, you'll have the magic portal, AI subtitles. So that's going to be neat. AI translate. This is kind of something that's on most phones that support AI these days. Call translations. We do have AI writing and AI deepfake detections. So that's pretty neat. And smart sensing and air gestures. So some of those features are some things that Samsung phones used to have, like air gestures. So they're packing all that. And on top of that, of course, if you hold down the power button, you will have Gemini installed. And of course, you could use ChatGPT on here as well. Not only that, you do have, a pretty clean and simple, nice layout for a foldable phone that definitely feels more tablet-y like on the inside, while remaining more like a phone on the outside. I'd call this it kind of looks a little bit like iOS, but it's pretty darn smooth, like something like a OnePlus phone. A little bit slower animations I find than Samsung, but visually pleasing. So I think you'll enjoy this. This is also going to give you 7 years of updates. So OS updates are being promised for 7 years. So that's pretty good. Now we look at the Samsung, it's One UI 8, and we all know how customizable One UI can be, and some of the best security in the game. So that's going to be pretty good over here. Not to say that the Honor doesn't have solid security. You got basic security practices for most phones. You just got to keep things locked down and make sure things stay updated, and you should be just fine. Over here for the Samsung though, I think if you like a more customizable format, you like a little bit more of a bigger ecosystem of products, I think the Samsung is more polished. It's a bit further along in development. Like they've been doing software for a long time for these Samsung phones, and people tend to really like them. So I would probably say if you're more of you like kind of like iOS type like feel, you'll probably like the Magic V5 more. If you like more feature set, definitely more customizable, you'll probably like the Samsung. The Samsung over here has the Galaxy AI stuff as well. Call assist, writing assist, interpreter, transcript, browsing assist. The list goes on and on. Now briefing, audio erasers. So it's got plenty on board. In the area of performance, both Snapdragon 8 Elites, we could do a speed test, but they're probably going to perform at about the same clip because they are the same chip. And this one over here on the right, 12 gigs of RAM, 16 gigs of RAM on the left. Well, that one's about $16.99. This one's about $2,000. So you can get some deals on this. So you're probably not going to pay $2,000, but it's still cheaper for the Honor phone over the Samsung phone. So let's talk about the cameras on the Magic V5. Now this Honor phone has been really impressing me with its sharpness across the board on pretty much every lens. These photos look, I don't know what they're doing with the processing, but they look tack sharp. I mean, look at the detail. These are some of the most impressive photos I've ever seen on any smartphone, not just foldables, but smartphones when it comes to sharpness. Definitely, even on the zoom, look at how sharp the detail is. I'm into a sharp photo. I tend to use sharpening effects, so that's why this is impressive to me. But some of you who don't like sharpening might not like these photos actually. So if you don't like a super sharp photo, you might not love this. I'm not going to be able to zoom in all the way because it's just too close, but 100 times zoom is capable on this phone. Of course, if you go further in, it's going to be a little bit less quality, but with the AI processing they do on here, you still get a pretty respectable zoom shot, and it's a periscope camera, so that's also good. You can also press over here, and you do get a cover screen preview. You could have a cat on there as well, so you could put that if you want, or you can just see, hold on, let's go over here. You can just do that and see who's recording right there or whatever. You could put some dogs and some other stuff as well. Coconut right there is downloading. But yeah, you get the gist. You can have some fun with that screen cover on the front. They do have an action mode. Swiping over here to more, there's plenty of camera options in here. Aperture modes, movie modes, stickers, super macros. You can do quite a bit. You also have pro modes, video mode, portrait mode, night mode. You know the gist. So it's a smartphone camera. It has most of the high-tech features you would want on board. You can also do AI enhancements, AI photography. So this is definitely a very AI heavy phone, like most phones in 2025. When it comes to the selfie camera, this is also pretty sharp as well. However, you're going to want to use the rear selfie camera. You'll just turn this around, and just like any other foldable, you'll be able to use these really sharp cameras for really sharp selfies. Now, I don't know how sharp you need your selfies, but if you need your selfies very sharp, this phone's going to do that very well, just like the Z Fold can with its rear cameras. All right, so for the Z Fold 7, if we go ahead and take a look here, this phone does really good on its main sensor, especially when you go into the 200 megapixel and the 50 megapixel. Let's go ahead and open this up really quickly. And you can see down here, Samsung has moved these controls down to a very neat place. So I do like that about this phone. It does have Expert RAW, Pro Video. And one of the things I really like about Samsung phones is their Pro Video and their log support. So that's pretty nice. And the dual recording is also a nice option. This phone also records a lot higher quality than most phones at 8K capabilities. That's something Samsung still has over the competition, the 8K abilities. So that's quite nice. And you, of course, could use the cover screen preview as well if you want to go ahead and do that with the Samsung phone. Now, if I go ahead and come out of here, go back to the camera, what I want to say is that Samsung still shoots a sharper, softer looking image. Some people tend to prefer that though. They like to add their own enhancements. And the Samsung has one of the best foldable cameras on the market today as well. I just don't know I could call it the best. It's one of the best, but I don't know I could call it the best. So Samsung, I think, does need to improve on the camera game for the foldables. The Z Fold 7 is more exciting because it finally has a 200 megapixel, but I want to see all the cameras be good. I mean, we're paying $2,000. Let's get everything. So I took some images here, and you could probably see from these two phones right here that the Honor does have a little bit more of a natural look, a little bit more vivid there on the Samsung. So if you like your greens and stuff to pop, you'll like the Samsung photo. But where the Honor does a bit better is when you get closer in on the details. So I find that the Samsung, as we zoom in, tends to look a little bit less sharp than the photos on the Honor Magic V5. So if I come over here, you'll see, look at the detail here, and then look at the detail here. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and lower the brightness a bit so we can get a better look at that detail on both phones. So if I go ahead and zoom in, I just see more detail on the left. Now, from this angle, I also see a little bit sharper image on the Honor Magic V5, but I see nice dynamic range on the Samsung. Let me go ahead and see if I can get this light out of the way. Hold on one second. Okay, there we go. So if I go ahead and zoom in here, one of the things I noted is that when I look at the windows on this building, look at the detail there. I know you can't zoom in quite as far on this phone when I'm pinching in, but look at the detail on the windows versus the detail on the Samsung. Even here, like if you look here, look at that sharpness and look there. I'm telling you, Samsung got to improve the zoom. The Honor Magic V5 is winning. So if we go over here, look at this again. A little bit better there on the Samsung, but still showing a sharper overall image on the Magic V5. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Once again, the outline of the building windows is much crisper. I mean, I could even make out the detail here on the blinds of this window right here. I could see there's blinds right there. You can see right here, it's just a fuzzy green on that window. So pretty cool stuff here. Let's go ahead and see if I can get something a little bit closer. Now we zoomed in here. Of course, on this shot, I did zoom all the way in. They both did pretty similar results there. Although this still looks a little bit more grainy, a little bit cleaner image on the left. So let's go ahead and zoom in over here. Again, very good dynamic range on both phones. Samsung with a very vivid shot, but the tree itself looks a little bit more grainy to me than the tree on this phone. So if you like a crisper image, I think Honor's got them beat here in this regard. I don't think Honor has them beat in terms of the vivid saturation though. I think Samsung has a very pleasing looking photo to the eye, and some people might not like the color rendition of the Honor phone. So that's where Samsung, I still think, might take the cake. It does look visually pleasing. I do like the colors, the way that comes out on the Samsung. It's just pleasing to the eye. That's the best way I could put it. So it's just very pleasing to the eye. That's the best way I can put it. And these were both taken in broad daylight. So of course you're going to get some of the best images out there. But if we go ahead and zoom in on the bricks, once again, as I get closer, very clean images on both. Not a major issue. Let's see if we can find any more details. And of course, you can say, well, you have to zoom in to see that, then it's not a big deal. Yes, it's not, but at $2,000, if I'm zooming in on something, a very important vacation memory, a concert, something I want to hold in my memories, and I want really sharp distance shots, the Magic V5 takes the cake here. So the camera system with the AI enhancements, it's really darn good on the Magic V5. Now, when it comes to the battery life, I do have to say that the Honor Magic V5 with its 5820 carbon silicon battery not only is it charged faster, it lasts about 3 to 4 hours longer in day-to-day use. Z Fold is no chump. It lasts pretty long, but I just find myself charging it more than the Honor Magic V5. So Z Fold 7, solid battery life, but using the same as the 6, Samsung's in trouble here. They need to start getting a better battery life on the phone. This one was able to put that technology and get the same thin factor as the Z Fold 7. So I think they're going to have it on the next Fold. That's just why I want to talk about that in this video. I hope this video is seen by them and they just put it in the next phone and we're done with that conversation. But definitely don't like that this still has the older technology battery because it still gives me similar life to the Z Fold 6. Not substantially better. So audio quality is also pretty comparable. They both have very, very good speakers. But if I only had to pick one, I would say that the Honor Magic V5 speakers are louder overall, but they're not quite as balanced sounding as the tuned by AKG speakers on the Z Fold 7. So I'd rather listen to audio on the Z Fold 7, but if I wanted louder speakers, it would be the Honor Magic V5. But I do think Honor should do some tuning to get a better clarity on those loud speakers that they do have on board. But let's wrap it up here. Final verdict. Honor has knocked the Magic V5 out of the park. This phone is offering a super large 5820 milliamp hour battery. It's super, super thin with true flagship level cameras and flagship level zooming, incredible AI features on board. It feels like a regular phone on the front. And honestly, this kind of feels like what I would want, or even pretty close to what I would want the first iPhone foldable to feel like. It's really that good on this phone. Very fast, high storage, does have high speed performance. So it's just packing pretty much everything you would want in the kitchen sink. Also promising long-term software support, updates. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. It does everything well, and it does feel like a true flagship foldable phone. Samsung in trouble? I would say not quite, but the Honor Magic V5 in this review has definitely shown that it is playing toe-to-toe with the top out there. So it's definitely a really good option to consider, this device right here. It's super thin. It's super light. Now, of course, you might be saying, well, how am I going to get that phone? Well, it's a global edition, so you'll have to get the global model. It's not going to be available in carriers. And that's just something you're going to have to know about if you're buying in the US. But this phone right here, the Galaxy Z Fold 7 right here, is going to be widely available. So that's going to help it a bit there. But some of the things I think Samsung could take from the Honor Magic book or Magic V5's book is probably the carbon silicon technology, having a much better periscope zooming camera, having longer battery life with that technology, the pen support like this one has here, and the IR blaster is a nice touch, but they probably don't need to put that on the Z Fold. It's not really a necessary thing. But yeah, they can take quite a few things. Maybe a reduced, even better reduced crease than this one would be great for the next foldable Samsung. But definitely the Honor Magic V5 has been pretty impressive. So that's my review on that device. Compared to the Samsung Z Fold 7, I would say Samsung not quite in trouble, but they definitely have quite a few things that they could learn from some of these competing foldables to improve theirs in the future as well. So Honor Magic V5, pretty solid phone overall, foldable. It's one of the best I've tried yet. Let me know your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns down below. What do you even think about foldables in general? Do you think they're amazing, not amazing? They're still not ready for prime time for you just yet. They're a little bit overpriced, whatever you got to say. Maybe you want to get one soon. You just don't know how it's going to work out. Let's talk about the foldables. These specifically, if you like as well, down below in the comment section. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here, and I will catch you all in the next episode. Be sure to be well, and peace.